My name's Austin Dunbar. I own a design studio called Durham here in Covington, Kentucky. I'm a father of 3. I've been married for 10 years. That stuff is probably more important than what I actually do from the 9 to 5. Everything I do kind of centered around Covington and community and this place. Growing up as a kid, I never knew what I really wanted to do, so I never was like, oh, I'm gonna be a doctor, I'm gonna be a firefighter. I think based off of like osmosis and how I was raised, like I kind of like was directed to this like creative path. So growing up, my dad was a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force, and my mom ran art galleries in Japan. And so there were 7 art galleries that she ran, and I kind of grew up in a Japanese art gallery. Spent most of my life in Japan, hence some of my body mods. My generation isn't the record generation, we're the CD sleeve generation. So, I was looking at album covers and CD covers, et cetera, and picking the ones from my dad's collection that looked the most kick-ass that I wanted to play. Yeah, kind of just always had an eye for things that appealed to me, for better or worse. And what kind of started me on my path to own my own studio was I kind of hopped around, and Durham's the longest job I've ever had in my entire life. And I kind of hopped around at these studios, not because I was just lily padding for jobs and raises, but just kind of growing up traveling and growing up as a military kid. Like I have this like time duration that anything over 2 years, no more than 3, like I have to peace out. Like I have to go. It drives my wife crazy because I want to sell our house every 2 to 3 years. I kind of took the leap end of 2013 in October and left kind of like full-time gig, 401k, HSA, all those fun things. To kind of start this thing that I had no idea what the hell I was going to do. I was creative enough that I thought I had enough chops to be able to do it, but I was naive enough and didn't know enough about business to do it. And I think that's kind of the mixture that I needed. I think being a gentleman is something you can't claim for yourself. I think others have to claim it for you. I think if you claim it for yourself, you're garbage and you're looking at the lens the wrong way. I think being a gentleman and gentlemanhood is all about willingness and kind of sacrifice and service to others. And in doing those transactions, other people are allowed to say, oh, X, Y, and Z is a gentleman. Because I think it's being kind. I think it's being a good steward. I think it's being a champion of your community. I think it's being a figurehead, family or not, whether you are in the workplace or you have employees, or if you're a neighbor, a friend, a brother, a sister, et cetera, et cetera. I think the best example of a gentleman in my life is my father, and the reasons being is because growing up overseas and growing up in the military, like there was a lot of sacrifice that he had to do that we didn't necessarily understand when we were young kids. Like dad had to work, and at one point he was in charge of like 800, 900 people in the military that all reported to him. Like things that when you're a teenage kid skateboarding and playing in punk rock bands, you just don't give a damn about. But I think those attributes kind of apply to your life, especially when you fast forward and become a dad and able to kind of like look back in time and see kind of where you got some of your drive and some of your personality from. I think sacrifice and his willingness to serve others at any time, even to this day, I think I admire the most. And he's probably the guy that I want to make feel the proudest. I've always had my eye on apparel. I'm not the most flashy guy, and I'm not the most like style-driven guy. I'm a little bit more of like goods in the details, and if you know, you know. And if you don't, that's even better. And I think apparel keeps you as an individual, but also congregates you to other people who are in the know. And I kind of like that. Apparel is in a community in of itself, and it's an identifier of who you are internally to the external world. Obviously I have tattoos and all this other nonsense, but like forget that. I think apparel, especially in design, is definitely a communicator and a driver of who you are right now and potentially who you want to be in the future. I never wear a suit. And the reason why I never wear a suit, the last suit I owned was a Burberry suit that I had when we got married 10 years ago. And if you can imagine, I'm not what I was 10 years ago in terms of size, so I don't wear it anymore. And I've never had a situation in my life to where I've needed to wear a suit too. That being said, like the weddings and the fancy things and the get-togethers, like there's blazers and jackets and all that kind of stuff. But as much as I love fanciful and getting dressed up, a suit and a tie moment hasn't been a moment for me within the past 10 years since my wedding, and I kind of think that's cool. But I love the hell out of suits, and seeing guys in like clean line suits, I think is super sick. I can't wear them every single day. Like this is my work uniform or some shade of this. But seeing guys in suits, I think just looks super slick and look hunky and cool. But it's such a world that I have no idea about. Like I can't even comment on it because I don't know the brands, I don't know the style, I don't know the cut, I don't know the fabric choices, I don't know any of that stuff. I just kind of look at it and I'm like, that's a damn nice suit. Personal identity I think is huge, and knowing who you are is a lifelong thing that it's constantly going to be evolving. It's constantly going to be changing. I would say tattoos are kind of my suit, and like that's what it is in Japan. Like back in the Edo period, the firefighters were getting the bodysuits because it was like a layer of armor, so to speak, and it would keep them safe and good luck. And so like my whole body is majority of it's tattooed, and yeah, it's kind of my suit. And with that analogy, like I could pull the suit out when I want to. I'm a gentleman because I'm here for the community. I'm here for others first, me second, third, fourth. Like I don't care about me, I care about we. Being a gentleman's earned, not given. And because of that, it's a privilege, it's not a right. Being a gentleman is very much like being a business owner. It's earned, not given, not promised, and it's daily.